All right, we're back. This is fantastic. I'm very excited. Hello, everybody. So obviously enough, we're on due respite. That's quite a big change. So we've also decided to go with Open Gaming, Open Legends, the open source role playing system. So this is going to be, by the way, I will beg of you now, mercy all of you, because I have no barking idea what I'm doing. I spent most of last night taking crib notes and basically making the equivalent of a game master's screen of all of the. Do I think I'll need this table?
Look, that's totally fine. I mean, we're all in this together, right? And I
Yeah,
think that's the joy of this.
I think so too. I think it's going to be a fat. When I first started in the industry, there was sort of a joke with my boss. Oh no, not another learning experience. So,
Not wrong.
yeah, exactly. So, let's let's have a quick hellos and intros because it's been a while. Let's start with hey Jamie. Jamie's at the top of the screen. We'll start with him. We'll just go around the clock. Jamie, hellos and intros.
Oh, hi, I'm Jamie Collette. I'm a voice actor and performer based in Canberra, Australia. You can find me mostly here. I play in another game here on Due Respite in the middle of the week called Eternium Gate. You can also find me on my website, jamie-collette.com, or on Twitter at Muffin Manifesto. And we're doing it. We're doing the thing. Season 2, sort of Unlawful Disorder. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm totally actually jazzed about this. I didn't think we'd get this far, honestly. This is cool. Chantel, hellos and intros.
Hey. It's me, Chantel B. Oh, that was weird. I'm not doing that again. I'm sorry.
Everyone clip that. Clip that now.
Chantel's
No, that's not
live forever.
No, I don't want it to live forever. That was awful.
The start of Chantel's styling career right there.
Hi, I'm like always here. This is where I live now. So like hang out.
Alrighty. Drew, hellos and intros, please.
Hello. Hi, I'm Drew, and this is the second time that I've appeared on Due Respite. Yeah, I did Savage Worlds a couple of weeks ago, going into House of Horrors. Is that it? House of Horrors? The Ghost Mansion? Whatever that is in yes, anyway. But I'm very excited to be here. I haven't stopped smiling since we turned the channel on, so this is going to be great. I'm an actor, I'm a puppeteer, I'm a writer. What else? What else do you need to know?
Sinner, saint. He does not need to be afraid.
Okay, great, awesome. I actually didn't hear you just then, Sam. I don't know. I just smiled and nodded because I'm so excited to be here. So. Oh, it doesn't matter then. Great. I can just also keep talking until Michelle, cuts me off. So, yeah. So I today baked some cookies. They've got there were sour cherry cookies that were dipped in brandy, and they had chocolate in them too. And they were from a particular bakery called Flower and Stone, which is in Woolloomooloo in Sydney. And they were delicious. Anyway, they're currently cooling on my... Yeah, Michelle's giving me the... Okay, that's enough. I'm going to go. Thank you very much. It's lovely to be here, and I'll hang around for the next couple of hours.
Here's the catch is that if you'd like me to cut you off, you actually have to listen to me say the words, "You're cut off now." And Sam, good mornings and hellos from you, sir.
Hello. Yeah, I am unsurprisingly also excited to be stepping into the metallic shell of Chevalier again. I'm also I'm on other shows on this channel. I can do Paddington Prowler on Mondays. I'm a Brisbane-based voice actor and performer. Find me on Twitter, really. I think that's really the only other thing I do. I it's finished now, but you can catch me doing on a town called Prodigal, which is a radio drama style show from the Penny Peep Show. And they've now, all 6 episodes are now out, so you can listen to the whole thing in one sitting if you so desire.
Very cool. Alrighty. And that brings us to me, I suppose. No, one sec. Very quickly. Okay. I don't know. Turn the gain down slightly. Actually, I think I just fixed that. I just added a gain filter to the channel, so that should have fixed everyone's audio. If that's not the case, let me know. Cool. Yeah, because I was noticing my meters were being berserk here. So, I am Michel Vaillancourt, games master, etc. First time running a game on Do Respite Media, a brand new home for what we're doing here. For those of you who are following us at the other channel, the story is picking up just about the same places we were last time, plus a couple of days. So, if you will, the previous story arc was the prologue. I need, as a GM, before I sort of drop the big story on the characters, I needed to know who the characters were, and there was an awful lot of development we sort of wanted to grow in. So I do the first, the equivalent in Dungeons and Dragons terms, first 3 levels essentially is the story prologue, where it's just an opportunity to grow into the role play, grow into the system, grow into the world. So the story is going to be beginning anew, so consider this chapter 1, if you will, as we take off. Open Legends has resulted in some really interesting changes to the characters, and so I think what I'm actually going to want to do is go around the clock again and have everyone give the highlights of who their character is now under Open Legend. What's your defining stat? What's your defining boon? What's your defining bane? And anything else that's that you think is interesting compared to how viewers will have seen you in the past. I know. By the way, surprise! No, I didn't tell anyone this was coming. So yeah, let's start with Chantel because I can see she's panicking most.
That seems unfair.
Oh, it absolutely is.
Great. What did you want to know? You're going to have to question at a time, me.
Yeah, for sure. So what is... Open Legends, of course, has a bevy of new stats that perhaps folks aren't going to be familiar with. So what is, from Alexandri's defining stat, what is it that she's got a 5 in or a 6 in?
5 or a 6? I mean, she's got a 5 in creation.
Okay.
So she is someone that can heal. She is someone that can make things appear, as far as I can tell. Like, she brings things into the world.
Yes. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
What's her if you will, her superpower? What's her defining boon and defining bane? You know, if things have gone have suddenly gotten difficult, what are the 2 tools she's going to lean towards in terms of a boon or a bane?
She'll lean towards probably healing, and she will bane towards blinding or knocking people down.
Okay. Yep.
She will do her best not to hurt anyone because previously that was a problem.
Yes.
For Alexandria, in that she seems to be very good at doing that.
Okay.
And that's not what she wants to be doing.
All right. Most interesting perk, most interesting flaw.
Interesting perk, Whisper of the Wild, but reflavored. So she listens to La Chanson, which is her song.
Yep.
And the way that will work is that once per session, she asks a question of the song, and the song will give her a yes/no answer to that question.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of flaws, both of her flaws are kind of fun. She's a pacifist and she's zealous. So, hey, she's zealous about being a pacifist. How about that? Let's go with that.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that squares with. Just by the way, so we're completely clear, events of the previous of the prologue stand as they are. We're not going to try and square up differences in mechanics. There will be no retconning about, well, she couldn't have done that or whatever. Events stand as they are. So however it happened, whatever it happened, that is what happened. So it'll be interesting to see, with that history going forward, how things will work for Alexandre. Okay, cool. All right. Chevalier. What would Chevalier's top attribute be?
Might.
Okay.
Might. Yeah, Chevalier. Might followed by fortitude. And then after that, perception and protection.
Gotcha. Have you got 5s in all of those?
No. As in, like, might's the highest.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Then fortituty,
okay.
then those two. So it's 5, 4, 3, 3.
Okay.
And then some 2s in some other things. No. I think if they were all 5s, then what I've done is called cheating.
Yes. Well, that was what you mean. Yeah. What's the negative end?
So in terms of, like, I guess his most like the bane, he's probably going to be provoked. It's probably
makes
making
sense.
people focus on him. And then he, in terms of boons, he can using protection. He can increase using resistance, I should say. He can increase other people's defenses. Right. So his whole point has always been, you know, he's there to defend people, but at the same time, he can just sometimes best defense is offense, but he sort of needs to be able to cover both, and so he can kind of do that a bit better now.
Makes sense. So what would his defining perk be?
I sort of perk wise, there wasn't really anything in the book, so I've used what I've called ageless and automaton.
Yes.
As the two separate ones. So given that he, you know, is this ancient machine, but also doesn't necessarily isn't even able to eat or drink.
Yes.
And he doesn't need to sleep in the same way that other people do. Flaws wise, I'm like the thing I'm using didn't allow me to sort of put in my own, or at least I couldn't see a way to do that. So I'm not. I'll see how it goes, and I might sort of tweak this a little bit. But I'm currently going with cosmetic deformity, but more flavored in the fact that he is a large machine man, and that can kind of draw unwanted attention.
Yes.
And I've gone with zealous as well, but I'm not. I don't know. We'll see. I don't think it's quite right.
What's Chevalier zealous about?
Not other people kind of letting his companions come to harm.
Oh, I see. That's fair.
Yeah, if it comes to taking harm, if the option are him or one of you three, it's not a difficult decision.
Yeah, makes sense. All right.
I'm touched. I didn't know if I'd be included in that zealousness.
Okay.
You shouldn't be.
Also, when we were doing in Dungeons and Dragons, I can't remember which one it was I think it was my ideal or something. I think it was like, I must protect the Donadoos, my companions, and myself.
Yeah.
In that order.
Right. Cool.
So that was from day one. You have been part of that.
All the rules of robotics are being followed, is what you're saying.
No. The means of which he does those things does not follow them. Does not. Asimov would be very disappointed in me.
All right, Lucas. What would Lucas's top attribute be?
Oh, look, Lucas and Chevalier have a lot in common. So Lucas has got might as his main shtick. But I think with Lucas, it kind of flips a little bit into energy, which he doesn't quite understand. So that's going to be quite fun. Yep. As far as, I mean, he's a fighter. In the D&D world, that was his thing. He was a fighter. So great with swords. Yeah, swords and bashing. That's his thing.
All right.
You know,
Yeah.
sword first, head later.
Yeah,
That's
makes
it,
sense.
you know.
So, what would his go-to boon and go-to bane be? If
So
things get
boons.
tense, what's
So he does have points in protection. I mean, that's his thing. Is all about the
Yes.
honorable knight.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of his boons are around the protection world. So creating
Okay.
barriers, physical barriers,
I like that.
to protect people,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, resistance, that kind of stuff. Like he would be able to put himself in harm's way, to protect others. The banes that relate to him, the ones that he's probably most familiar with, are all the ones related to might, which is like the slowing, stunning, provoking, knocking down, making them immobile. Like it's all those things that will assist him in combat. But the great thing about all of these banes is that there's a lot more that he has access to that he doesn't know about, only because he's got untapped potential, Michelle.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
What else? Oh, his perks and flaws. His perks. I mean, he's a soldier, so he knows quite a lot about what that entails.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a noble, so he's of the upper class.
Mm-hmm.
And also his flaws. I mean, he's incredibly proud. Ego is one of the things that I would say is one of his flaws. And I've given him the disabled flaw.
Yes.
And it's only because he's got a prosthetic leg.
Yeah, makes sense.
That causes him a lot of grief. That's been a hurdle for him, something to overcome in his life, and it always comes back to bite him, because those things, they're stark reminders of things that have happened in the past for him, as well as physically, of reminding him that he's maybe not as able as he wants to be in this current state.
Yeah.
Not to say he'll never get there.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Still wiggling, by the way, folks. For those of you in the audience, I'm still wiggling with the audio. We're still trying to figure all this stuff out. Brand new setup, can't do a thing with it. So let me know if we're sounding a little less harsh on the ears. So that brings us to Spider, but certainly not least, Spider. Spider, tell us a little bit about your top attribute.
Spider is a zippy boy and has 5 in agility.
Wow, yeah.
Good for running, climbing, and stabbing people from the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
Followed very closely by a 4 in deception, because sometimes you get found in those shadows and you need to explain your way out of the situation.
Yep. All right.
You did not see me.
If I can't see you, you can't see me.
That's not the knife in the kidneys you were looking for.
Going gag.
All right. So what's your go-to boon and go-to bane?
My go-to bane, I guess, is probably the persistent damage bane, which is making them bleed.
Yeah.
Don't let them get away with a clean wound, basically.
Yep.
And boons are for chumps.
Right. Why would you want to help anybody in this world? What?
Yeah, almost all of the boons require taking some sort of extraordinary power, and Spider is very much grounded in reality.
Yeah, makes sense.
Jamie, what do you say to the rumors that the only reason we changed system was so that Spider would hit someone?
Listen, I am statistically much more likely to do so now.
Somebody clip that, please.
I don't expect it to make any difference.
Ouch.
All right,
Yeah.
So.
Oh boy! I mean, now I'm not rolling digital dice. I can cheat, but I won't,
That's good to know.
because it's so much more funny that my character just fails at everything they attempt.
I'm ready for ones
Yeah,
on 2
exactly.
dice at the same time.
I have 5 in agility. That means 3 dice I could fail on.
Yes. All right.
You get
so
2d6 at 5.
defining
Oh.
perk.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. So there, like, I can heal people in the mundane fashion, but I probably won't very
I think
often.
all of us have, to a degree, the ability to heal now.
Yeah.
Mm.
I know how to, bandage someone up. You learn that kind of thing living on the street. But
Yep. What would you say your defining perk would be?
well, listen, perks. Oh, I was about to jump into flaws because that's how I roll. Even my flaws are perks, as far as I'm concerned. No, yeah, I have the observant and silver tongue perks, which I sort of feel like roll together in a really nice way, which is that I can once per session notice something that someone might typically miss, like a hidden door or a trace of blood under someone's fingernails, something like that, or notice someone's disguise. And
So you're a spider catching device.
yeah, exactly. I am a spider catching device. And then Silver Tongue is once per session when I'm talking to a intelligent creature for 5 minutes or more. I can learn a secret about them. Of the
Does that mean you know all of our secrets?
Yeah, I was about to say, is that a problem? Do we need to do something about this?
No, it doesn't work on Lucas.
Great.
Intelligent creature, after all.
Oh yeah, okay,
exactly.
Haven't been able to give the brothers sass in weeks. It's great.
I've been missing this so much.
gotcha.
You need
Lucas
someone to
has his-
regularly insult. It's amazing.
Lucas has some intelligence.
Yeah,
He
if you
can
can't- if you
know
can't-
one
Lucas
topic.
is both the dumbest and smartest person in the party, so
If you can't trash your gaming group, who can you trash, right?
He has his moments.
All right. All right then. So a couple things, by the way, just so we're aware, there have been a couple of other small ancillary format changes. As someone, I think it was Chantal it was Jamie that commented. We are now rolling live dice. So on the previous channel, we were heavily incentivized to lean hard onto Roll20 and World Anvil. That's not the case here, so we've chatted, and Eric Shrimpicles has got a very strong brand built around live dice, so we're using live dice from here on out. I may, if I can figure out the technical bits behind it, put a dice cam up there, literally, so you can see what I'm rolling, just for... Yes, so Goblin Bling, yes. So there will be a little. There's going to be a little difference in format. There's going to be a little bit of theater of the mind that goes into this. The dice are going to be. Okay. Well, can't do a thing. All right. One sec. Getting someone chatting me here very quickly. Okay. As just a side note, I'm getting a bit of feedback. Just if I'm waving at the screen, I need everyone to just drop down a little bit because of the way we're trying something brand new for the way that we're doing audio capture, and it's not working as anticipated. So you are all collectively much more, you're on top of my audio all the time. So if I wave at the screen, I need you all guys to just calm a little bit so I can say what I need to say. If I'm not waving, don't worry about it, just keep going. So we'll have to keep half an eye on the Zoom. So yeah, so there's going to be a few things that are a little bit different that way. Well, I'm still going to be doing the pretty maps, and we're probably going to be doing a few other things with the virtual tabletop. If we do a dungeon stomp, I just absolutely adore the whole lighting effects and all that stuff. We'll definitely be leaning into that. But yeah, so there we are. That is essentially the setup. So when we last left our heroes, they had just successfully managed to resolve a massive problem around Breezy Point Bay. There's a group of foresters living a few hours walk away from the village, who now are able to go into the spring of the year without a sword of Damocles hanging over their head. A possible major threat to the local area has been resolved. A villain who turned out to be a villainess has been turned over to the legal system for justice. And here we are. So what happened? You guys and girls had all said that you were planning on essentially making best speed for Glitter Delta Cove. Having, as the last conversation we had was that, for lack of a better way of putting it, it was now. There were a whole there's at least there's Fiona, there was Stuart, there were a couple of others who saw faces and heard names, and so knowing, as you had found out at the end of the prologue, that you were all wanted, that there was an actual bounty on your heads, that probably not a good idea to hang around here any longer. Breezy Point Bay is a big place. But it's not that big a place. You all kind of stick out. So there had been some discussion that the idea was to hop on a ship as quickly as possible and get the heck out of town. So a couple of days have gone by, and you have all, just one sec here, popping a button. And so you've all gotten your underway. You were able to find a ship called the Errant Departure. Spider was the one who found the vessel in question based on reputation, and we don't probably need to ask any more questions than that. It's run by a female elf named Sornus. She's got a crew of about a half dozen. It's a fast, lean, low-to-the-water little clipper, which basically, Sornus is the opinion that 5 days she'll have you in Glitter Delta Cove and no one will be the wiser. Hasn't cost you a tremendous amount of coin. Spider was able to arrange a pretty good deal. Not too many questions will be asked, etc. So, does anyone need a lot of... has anyone got questions at this point before we go much further?
I do.
All right.
Are we sharing a cabin?
So the Errant Departure is just big enough that I was just going to say, certainly Alexandria could have her own cabin. There's probably enough space. There are I'll tell you what. Just for amusement, everyone throw a d6 and tell me what you come up with. Alexandria?
6.
Okay. Lucas?
I got a 5.
Okay. Chevalier?
5.
I also got a 6.
Wow. All right. Great rolls. So there are, in fact, enough cabins to go around. The problem with this ship is that, for lack of a better way of putting it, cabins are also cargo boxes. Is that they cram this vessel full of all kinds of bags and boxes which are not named, not labeled, and have cryptic things like an address on it, but no other identifying information. Actually, and that'll prompt a fascinating question.
Not suspicious at all.
Oh, no. In point of fact, why doesn't Lucas roll a learning for me and tell me what you get?
A learning. So,
Yes.
How do I do this?
All
So,
right,
I roll a
it's gonna-
d20.
It's going to be a d20.
And then I have got 1 in learning, which means I add a d4.
Yep, so
Yes.
and then total them up and tell me what you get. If you
And
roll-
everything explodes.
Yes, so the d20 explodes and the d4 explodes. So if you get a
Not-
natural 20, by the way, that's going to be a slight difference. Or not, because of the way this game system works, natural 20s don't deliver twists of fate anymore. And this game actually has them built into the system called legend points. So legend points are awarded for things like...
For being a legend.
When you use one of your flaws to your own disadvantage, or for particularly strong role-playing. So, for example, if Lucas was in a chase scene, and he looked at me and said, I'm intentionally going to fail this roll, because of my bad leg, bang, you get
Yeah.
a legend point. And then what happens is you can then use that legend point later on up to the maximum of your level. So if you guys are second level, if you have 3 legend points, you can use 2 legend points, and those give you advantage. So you can buy up as much advantage on a roll as you want with your legend point pool. I also say that if someone does a remarkably cool scene, all of the other players are allowed to pop that person forward for getting a legend point on the value of the scene, on the value of the role play. So if someone does something really cool, shout out. And I'm also going to say, folks in the audience, same thing. Feel free to nominate. If there's a scene that sticks out, shout out. I can't see chat. The players will let me know. And if I agree with you, we'll be passing out legend points. All right?
Oh, that's dangerous to say.
That's
Oh
so
yes, the
dangerous.
players will tell me when they deserve a legend point based
Can
on
the players
what chat
take away
says.
legend points as well?
No, just going to say, no,
Oh.
actually, it's one way.
That's not a path we want to go down.
No, that is not.
I'd like to stay friends with everyone.
Only for really bad puns, Sam.
So
Yes,
I'd also like to
Sam.
keep my legend points.
All right, so Lucas, let's see that learning roll.
That learning roll, I got an 8.
An 8.
I know, right? I got a 6 on the D20, and then I got a 2 on the D4.
Yeah, well, so for lack of a better way of putting it, this isn't anything you've ever had to deal with, so it doesn't particularly strike you as odd that there doesn't seem to be any kind of paperwork, if you will, associated with any of this cargo, nor about the fact where you guys were literally told to show up at 10 o'clock at night, the night before you were leaving. And they're loading cargo and passengers, you lot, at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, this is normal.
Spider doesn't
Well,
need to make a roll.
You've done
Probably
late,
not that
late
different.
mustering out.
Yeah, exactly.
Spider, on the other hand, doesn't need to be told what this is all about. It's pretty obvious to him.
Yeah, and look, it's not that different to how I hustled Lucas out of the city in the first place.
Yes, that.
Yeah, he said that we were just going to mail a letter to Grandma.
All right. So, yeah, you all therefore they for the value of whatever it is you're paying. And again, they do wealth very differently in this game. There's just don't worry about raw numbers. It's just, do you have enough wealth? Yes, no. You can afford it? Yes, no. So, Spider was able to get a vessel that fits within your budget, if you will. You have wealth points left over. It didn't cost you a point of wealth to get on this ship and get out of here. Which probably
I mean, we
means
come into some money.
yeah. I mean, the other thing, probably Spider is in the back of his head, vaguely surprised that for what you guys are paying, that it means you do get individual cabins. But there you go. So yeah, you guys literally will be loading, getting into your cabins, and then they're going to continue clunking and banging boxes and barrels and things for another couple of hours, and then improbably setting sail at silly o'clock in the morning. So you guys will literally be underway long before the dawn rises. Let's just say that's not normal procedure for anyone who worries about these things. Normally you wouldn't sail out of a harbor at night. That's a good way to wind up on a rock or something. So, Alexandre may not know that. Spider's probably knows enough based on what he's seen in Shining Capital, the dock activity, to know that this isn't the usual way freight is done, but probably has a good explanation for it. Yeah, Lucas, based on a learning roll of 8, has no clue, so...
I feel like I've definitely received ships coming in at this time before, so...
Yeah, that would make some sense.
I'm trained for land, not for sea.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's a pretty fast little vessel. It makes good time. The weather is basically when you guys are having breakfast in the morning. They've got a shade cloth hung up over one part of the ship for you guys, and a little table set aside. Your grub's dropped off. You guys can eat in your cabins or eat on the upper decks and enjoy the breeze. So, one sec while I adjust the map here. The short version is that you guys are staying close to the coast, because bluntly, not staying close to the coast is a good way to get killed in this world. So let me get... There we are. So, you see the red outline is the national boundary. So you guys are sailing from here, Breezy Point Bay, and basically you're going to be staying, at map scale, straight lining across this bay, and then staying within about the real world distant gapping of about a centimeter away from the coast, well inland the whole trip, because nobody in the right mind goes out into Hellshorn Reach. That is what is euphemistically referred to as adventure sailing. The only there are things that live in that deep water, and so no one in the right mind goes there. Well, except for the fact that there are two major shipping routes that go through that area, because the Confederacy doesn't care about things like kraken and sea serpents. They just send a couple of gunboats to escort a couple of freighters, and they just brute force their way through because this is the most efficient route to get up there.
Mm-hmm.
Typical. So yeah, you guys will be heading up and along the coast, and coming into Glitter Delta Cove.
Yes.
Anything you guys want to talk about or do over the couple of days that you're at sea? Like I say, it's going to be about a 5-day trip. Going to be a couple of days of travel before anything of interest happens. What are you guys talking about and doing over those couple of days? Mostly keeping to yourself? Are you hanging out together? Chatting with the crew? What are you doing?
Alexandra is mostly keeping to herself.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, may I ask that you give us the link to the World Anvil site, because we don't have it.
Oh my gosh. Sure, one sec.
Thank you.
I'm glad it wasn't just me. I was like, oh, where did it?
No, it's not just you.
Can't find.
Yeah, okay, hang on a second here. One sec. Lanogiianes homepage. And grab copy, and I will throw that into the Zoom chat as quickly as I can. There you go, folks. Paste.
So yeah, Alexandra's keeping to herself.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And she pretty much has, thank you, since leaving. Like, she probably would have spoken to V, but she wouldn't have spoken much to anyone else.
Okay. What's going on in her head that she's being a little bit distant?
Mostly everything that happened over the last week. It was only about a week, but oh boy. But all of that.
Yeah, all right. So
just processing.
There we go. So let me know if you guys have any issues getting that open. If someone do me a favor and just throw that into the Twitter chat, not the Twitter chat, the Twitch chat as well for anyone who wants to follow along. Take a look at the site. So okay, so lots to process, huh? What about Spider? What's he up to for the couple of days?
Oh, sorry, was still muted. I think Spider is spending a lot of time grilling the crew of the what's it called, the
errant
departure.
Yes,
the errant departure. That's right.
Yes.
I think he spends a lot of the time, like, I say grilling, but I think ingratiating himself to the crew of the errant departure in various ways, like, subtly just losing games of cards and
tell you
and
what,
such.
just for amusement, just so we can all get used to the system, why don't you make either a persuasion roll or a presence roll, depending which way you're trying to. Are you trying to just? Is it subtle, or is it? Are you trying to be a little bit bold about it?
No, I think it's a subtle thing. I think he's trying to just like blend in and appear like he's someone who gets it, which he is, to be fair. Like he spent many years as a smuggler.
Yeah.
Not on ships himself, but like he knows these people. And I think he's trying to get information out of them about where we're going, about Glitter Delta Cove and what like the state of play is there in terms of especially like the underworld and stuff.
Yep.
and if they know more about, I will be very gentle in ever bringing up the Assassin's Guild that we found out our previous
yes.
acquaintance was a part of.
Yeah.
But if any conversation happens to edge along that way, then I might try and see if anyone knows anything about it.
Mm-hmm. So, all right then. So it sounds like a persuasion roll to me.
Yeah. All right. Now all dice explode, don't they?
Yeah. So what are you rolling here? Tell everybody what you're rolling.
So I have a 3 in persuasion, which means I roll a d20 and a d8.
Mm-hmm.
I rolled very poorly on my d20, only a 2, but I rolled an 8 and a 7 on my d8, which makes a total of 17.
Nice roll. Yeah. Okay. So 17. Yeah, it's a good roll. So I think okay, so there's a few things. It's very obvious to Spider in a couple of days of travel that the crew have probably heard a little bit, because they're all sort of giving you some privacy and some distance, and everyone's very intently not knowing anything. But when Spider starts, particularly anytime Chevalier is around, there's this sort of, don't go into area. They're very obviously, whatever they've heard, clearly they're aware of the fact that Chevalier is Alexandre's protector of some kind, and they're very careful, particularly when Alexandre and Chevalier are anywhere in the same area, that there's an exclusion zone around them permanently, and they've certainly found out. Actually, I'm going to make a die roll here just out of amusement, and that's going to be a d20 and a couple of d6. And so that's a pair of 1s on the d20 and a 9. On the 2d6 and a 19 on the d20. So I can't remember. Does this game do anything interesting with 1s? I don't think it does.
I don't think it does.
Yeah, ones you cannot get advantage on them.
Gotcha. All right.
Like, there's no fighting with them.
Yeah, got it.
So if you roll them, you can't discount them for advantage? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I thought that they were like 1s or 1s. Like
they're absolutely.
I might be wrong. I might be mixing my systems.
All right. Well, anyway.
I'm not clear on what. I don't think there's anything they do special with you roll.
Yeah. Okay. So
that doesn't sound familiar to anything I read. It might be one of the other systems. That we looked at.
So yeah.
Might be thinking Savage Worlds about not being able to re-roll double 1s.
Yeah. Boxcars are insignificant in this game, as far as I know. I don't think there's a critical failure ability. There's no equivalent to critical failure that I'm aware of. So, all right. So they've clearly heard rumors, if you will, because any of the crew who talk to Alexandre use the phrase "milady."
And she wouldn't think to tell them not to.
Right.
So that's a thing.
So, but basically everyone's minding their own business. When the cards start tumbling, the dice start tumbling. The wobbly pops start getting passed around, and there's later in the evening when there's not a lot going on. Spider's doing spider-like things. But he pretty quickly is able to convince everyone that he's just playing folk, right? And he's cool. And so what you'll find out, Glitter Delta Cove is actually, the crew's very excited about going to Glitter Delta Cove at this time of year, because amongst other things, they don't have to walk so bloody far when they unload. Glitter Delta Cove is a massive, essentially inland delta, and it's the spring flood. So there's almost an additional 3 meters of water around the port this time of year, 2 to 3 extra meters of water, which makes getting normally they're parked. Glitter Delta Cove is a city on top of a hill, and the
Mhm.
port is out here. Well, at this time of year, there's enough water. The port is over here.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. So it's almost like not like mangroves, but
Yeah.
what's that word? Yeah. Right. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, it's a three seasons out of four. Getting basically, it's a long slog up a river, and with a lot, and then a long slog up a hill afterwards.
Yeah. Right.
This time of the year, it's a whole lot easier for everyone. The river is literally wider and deeper. It's the spring flood dumps all of any of the basically re-smooths the channel sort of automatically for them. And then on top of that, if you sort of know what you're doing, the reason the place is called Glitter Delta Cove, of course, is that the spring flood drags gemstones down from the mountains every year and just leaves them littered around in the topsoil. So one of the primary a secondary source of income for most farmers is keeping an eye on what gets churned up by the plow.
That's cool.
So yeah, that's the reason the place is called Glitter Delta Cove, in spite of the fact it's inland by somewhere between 12 and 20 kilometers.
Right. And so, am I able to pick up from these guys any like details about the local establishments in terms of like the black market, or who to avoid, who to talk to?
Yeah,
work,
so
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so one of the things you'll find out is that there is a reminder: slavery is not illegal in the Confederacy. It's called indentured servitude, though. Slavery is illegal, which is to say, capturing someone and selling them into slavery is illegal. However, oddly enough, mechanically, taking someone hostage, forcing them to ransom themselves into debt and thus becoming an indentured servant, and then selling that servitude to someone else is perfectly legal.
Mm-hmm.
So there is actually a skin market in Glitter Delta Cove. Most of the crew will just straight up, in polite terms, given the fact that you're traveling with a noblewoman, you probably don't want her anywhere near that. That's just going to that'll be a polite tip you're going to get from somebody. That will just look odd. There is in the docks area. There are a couple of one sec here. There is a decent place that they all hang out usually called the Blue Sky. It's a good-sized establishment. It's pretty comfortable. It's not too pricey, and it's actually in the docks district. And for lack of a better way of putting it, the local thieves guild has got a bit of the place. Oops, what the hell? The local thieves guild has arranged things to stay nice and quiet, and so nobody really asks too many questions. You can come and go as you please. You can spend money on whatever vice you like, and no one's going to gainsay you. And you're not that far from the ship, right?
Yeah, nice. All right, cool.
So yeah. So if you're looking, one of the sort of the joke is, if you're looking for a good time, go to the Blue Sky. So those are the biggest things. Nobody directly, there's no mention even in casual conversation about the hand. That's just, no. That's just, nobody even comes up with that word. Okay?
Yeah, right.
And, I can't imagine Spider would be so gauche as to bring them up. So.
No, it's more that, like, if any, there might be, like, a time where he deep in a card game and lots of drinks, he talks about like a story about someone who got murdered by the hand, just to see if it pulls any strings.
Fair
But
enough.
it seems like no one's.
I think that's probably worth a roll. None of these guys are just common sailors. I'm just going to give them a flat D20 roll. And that is an 11. So there's at least a couple of people who know what you're talking about, and based on the fact that they're politely studying their cards, and no one, and everyone at the table feigns ignorance to the topic.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Cool. Anything else from Spider?
I think that's like where he spends most of his energy throughout this trip.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Chevalier. What's Chevalier up to for the duration of the trip? Or for at least the first half of the trip. Like I say, it's a 5-day trip. We'll do it in 2 chunks.
Yeah. So I've known like Alexandre, long enough to know when she needs space.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is a combination of just like he's obviously still there in like the bodyguard capacity, but he's not trying to like get her to talk or anything. He's just like he's like giving her however long she needs to, process everything that's happened. And he knows that if should she want to, she'll just talk to him. And it's both. I mean, like he's the same as anywhere else. Like he's sort of probably initially as well, just keeping an eye on everyone else on the ship, just to see if there's anyone in particular that was like, this is someone I need to be aware of, or
yep, sure.
is giving him like a bad feeling. He's just like, well, okay, that person is. But it's mostly just sort of just trying to be, I guess, there for Alexandre.
Sure. Just out of amusement, do me a perception roll, if you will, just to see if there's anybody that strikes you as odd.
18.
18. 18. Probably, if there's anybody who strikes you as someone who's worth paying attention to, it's probably the captain. It really is sort of the best way of explaining it. So Soreness is hovering constantly, is the best way of putting it. She's very good at hovering. For lack of a better way of putting it, every time Chevalier looks around, Soreness is casually leaning against a railing somewhere. I would say probably Chevalier can't shake the feeling that essentially she's watching you lot. You can't with 18. I don't think an 18 doesn't strike me as a high enough number under this system to really give you any insight as to why. But she's definitely the impression Chevalier would have is that keeping tabs on the lot of you. Anytime any of you are on the upper decks, like I say, coincidentally, she seems to be hanging or leaning off a railing and just kind of casually in the area.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. They're a dark-skinned female elf. They're relatively short, slightly husky. Hazel eyes, dark hair, long loose. Not clearly used to being, clearly based on the way she moves around the vessel, she's been at sea for a good chunk of her life, would be the impression Chevalier is left with. She speaks the language, she's not someone who bought a ship yesterday, as it were. She speaks the language of sailors fluently, clearly is skilled at what it is she's doing. That becomes very readily apparent. And the crew seems to adore her. There's no... And that would be something that would come out of conversations with Spider, is the crew just thinks she's fantastic. The pay is good. The problems are few. And the troubles... the problems are few and the troubles are few as well. And for most of them, there's one chap who's been sailing with the crew, sailing for 6 months, and he literally changed ships to wind up on this one, based on the reputation. Admittedly, that was part of the reason that Spider had gone. Oh, that one's in town. I think I've heard of that one back in the capital. That's a familiar name. I remember it always seemed to be on time. Yeah, I'll look into that one. Was sort of the chain of events there. So that sort of falls into what Spider already knew. All right. Anything else, Chevalier?
I think, particularly at the beginning of the trip, that'd be all he'd really be doing.
Okay. Very good. Lucas, anything you're going to be up to for the first couple of days out on the water?
Yeah. I think Lucas will be in a similar headspace to Alexandre. Probably dealing with it by keeping busy. I imagine him, practicing on the deck with his sword, but also keeping busy, like helping the other sailors out, trying to, he's distracting himself. I think there would also be moments when, if Alexandria ever presented herself, he'd try and start a conversation, not knowing what to say. Only because a lot happened in Breezy Point Bay, especially with Tolman, that he's kind of processing. Alexandria's dealing with it. I think he can see her dealing with it. And he's asking a lot of questions of himself and how he dealt with that.
All right. So I actually think there's probably some room for a scene here if you two are okay with that. So I think what we're going to do is both of you, Alexandre leaning against the railing up at the bow of the ship on the windward side, so the wind sort of into the face. It's a modest, had the weather done already. It's 16 degrees Celsius. The wind's, about a quarter cloud, gentle clouds, if you will, high in the sky, lots of sunshine, the taste of salt in your mouths from the spray in the air, winds from the northeast, the ship's plowing along straight and true through the waves, and that and then Alexandre would be, like I say, leaning against the railing, possibly with her eyes closed, deep in thought, just sorting through everything that's gone on. Because keep in mind, all of this grand adventure, if you will, started really when back at the barn, when you encountered the sorceress or whoever she was, who clearly knew who you people were and had the werekin, right? And so the entire story has been afoot for a while. So I think that would probably be the conditions under which Lucas would find Alexandre. So go ahead, take it away.
I didn't expect Spider to find us a cargo vessel. Thought we were going to be in some sort of ferry.
I suppose so.
Something a bit more grand.
Well, we are fugitives, so...
That's true. But it'll be nice to sleep on something that's a little bit more than a hammock.
That would be nice.
Are you okay?
A lot has happened. And I don't know whether they... I don't know whether or not I'm making la chanson happy.
The song? Why would it be unhappy?
I don't know. It's difficult when all you can do is listen to music and decide whether or not the timing of that music is the right time, and whether or not what you're doing at the time is correct.
Like a dance.
I suppose, yes.
Does the song... Does the song have an opinion?
I would imagine so.
I just find it strange to imagine a song having judgment.
Why?
It's a song.
So?
It just is.
Well, I don't understand.
That's fine. I don't understand either. I'm trying to, though.
Me too. My grand-mère, she heard the song and she traveled and she did what it asked. I need to learn how to understand it. So I'm just spending some time trying to do that.
Taking music lessons.
Yes.
Breezy Point Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Did the song give you any indication of right or wrong there?
No. I think if it were very unhappy with me, it would have. So, yes.
Well.
What do you think they did with her?
Well, I know that if they could keep hold of her, they would likely have, well, hanged her. But part of me thinks that they will not be able to keep hold of her. Part of me hopes that they won't. And part of me thinks that she deserves everything they give her.
I see.
And I don't know the right answer. I don't know if she deserves that. I've been told that that's what she deserves.
By who?
By commanders, by school teachers, by my father, by my brother.
How do you know whether they are right?
That's the thing. I don't.
Just like la chanson.
Just like la chanson. Does the song sound like the waves?
Not really.
Sorry, that's an odd question.
Yes. Why do you ask that question?
Ever since I heard the song at the dam. It sounds like everything around me has a beat to it. Is that the song?
Maybe.
Am I just hearing things?
Also, maybe. Keep listening. You don't know.
No. No, I don't.
If what you're hearing is crazy sea voices, then they'll make themselves known to you. Maybe.
If I start hearing crazy sea voices and they start calling to me, I'll come to you.
Oh no,
and I'll
please.
say, Alexandre, please get rid of these voices.
No,
I'll come straight to you, Alexandre.
No, I would much
yes,
rather
no, there
you
is a
didn't do
lot
that.
you can do. You
No,
could
no, no,
probably
no, no,
clear
no,
them
no, no,
all
no.
away. I mean, you healed up that big
No, I
stab
would
wound that
really
went through my
rather-
chest. I'm sure you can get rid of the voices in my head.
At that, she's going to look around and see if there's anyone listening to this conversation, because that's a problem.
While it would be amusing for me,
muted. Michelle.
Chevalier is probably nearby, but he's very much trying to give off an air of you can do your own thing. Don't mind me.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I just because I think it would be, well, it would strike me to have it amusing to have the entire crew going, right now, I'm going to...
Camera just pans as an audience, like eating popcorn.
Yeah, well, that would be, like I say, that would strike me as terribly funny. Yeah, probably I'm going to just, as a kind and merciful GM, I'm going to say no. As it works out, you guys are largely just by yourselves. One of the things to get used to, too, is that ships are noisy places. Everything on a ship makes noise. The wind makes noise. The waves make noise. The woodwork makes noise. The wind whistling through the ropes makes noise. The sails ripple constantly. The hull thrums constantly. If there are seabirds in the air, they don't shut up. And so while it's easy to imagine that you're sort of in this silence, the truth of the matter is you're probably almost having to shout within a few feet of each other just to, unless you've literally got heads on each other's shoulders sort of thing. It's actually, particularly on sailing vessels, can be a relatively noisy experience to chit-chat. Everyone goes on about how quiet it is, but those are very rare circumstances. Most of the time, a sailing ship's a noisy place. So yeah, I would say probably. While it's obvious to everyone who may be glancing up in your direction, and keep in mind that ships, the foredeck and the aft deck are noticeably higher than the center section. They're sort of built in this platform figure, so you're actually up a little bit. So other than the person who's currently steering at the wheel, and a couple of people moving around, perhaps someone who's up keeping watch, you're sort of up and away from the line of sight of almost everyone. So while it's obvious to anyone who can see you that there's a very animated conversation going on right now, that's probably Alexandri, and lots of this from Lucas, there's probably no real understanding what the hell you two are on about.
So nothing out of the ordinary then, is what you're saying?
No, probably not at all, no. So yeah, I would say that's, does that make sense, for lack of a better way of putting it?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, it's. I can imagine it being like in an oval. Like if you're out in a field, to try and talk to someone, you gotta shout pretty hard to get them to hear you. Like, space and air just swallows noise, and ships are like that. Yeah.
So yeah, I like I say, I think. So you guys, for lack of a better way of putting it, probably have as much privacy as you want. I mean, if you physically, or if you're literally shouting at each other, or something, a little bit over the top winds up happening, then maybe not. But I'd say you guys have pretty much got whatever level of privacy that makes sense at that point. So yeah, anything else you two want to continue the discussion? Or is that a good place to call it for now?
I reckon it could totally end there. Awkward.
I was just going to say, I think that's probably a good spot, actually. So we've hit our first hour of play, so I'm actually going to call a break. So we're going to take a minute, because that's what we usually do, is we do 3 1 hour blocks ish. So we'll take a quick break, a couple of minutes. I'm gonna press one of the magic buttons on my stream deck here. Hope it does what I think. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Everyone, run, grab, refill your drink glasses, and we'll get on to the next bit. All right? Okay. Okay, and I think it worked. Yay, we're back. I will apologize in advance. By definition, usually Eric Shrimpicles handles the tech and stuff from his side, so this is the first time that we've sort of tried to do distributed tech on the channel, and so there are some learning cliffs going on, so I do apologize. Trying to make the way I've got things set up work for the way Eric likes them, and vice versa. So I think I've got the Zoom audio balance issue sorted out. So I think that's going to make everyone else a little bit easier to work with. And yeah, so I think we're making slow but steady progress. Hey, Frito, how you doing? I've also joined the modern age and figured out how to get the chat window up so I can actually see chat. Yay for me. And all
right, everyone, stop talking about Michelle in chat. It's fun while it lasted.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but I've already. Oh.
Yeah. So yeah. All right then. So yeah, we're gonna be. So because, and I will be straight up with you. I desperately want to see how the dice work in a combat system. So we're going to start out the next morning after the fantastic conversation. Actually, I will stop before we go there and ask if Spider or Chevalier, over the first couple days, basically if there's anyone if they want to have a roleplay scene with. if there's a conversation that needs to happen with someone in the first couple of days at sea. Obviously, with Alexandria and Lucas, the world shifted dramatically in the past 10 days, right? And so it made sense that they were going to have a chat. Is there anybody else that needs to talk to anyone before things get different?
I don't know about need to, but I think there might be an interesting scene between Spider and Chevalier, actually.
All right. So, so where do you think Spider would between Spider and Chevalier? Where do you think these two would run into each other for a chat in the next couple days?
Well, the thing is, it's probably so rare to try and find the separated from Alexandre.
Well,
so
the one thing I'm pretty sure that Spider.
I mean, I'm not I am actively, obviously needing to protect her, but he's also actively giving her space so that she can sort of process stuff. So he's not like joined at the hip or anything.
Yeah. So I wonder if it's like a late at night thing, and did you have like an adjoining cabin or something to hers?
Well, and keep in mind too is that Chevalier doesn't sleep. So literally, he could be standing on the upper deck at 2:00 in the morning for the
he kind of, I don't know if he uses that cabin.
So
yeah,
he doesn't. He more just goes into standby than he does sleep. So he can do that and he more doing that in where he can see each of the doors to each cabin of for the other three. So he's not.
Yeah, well, then I guess at some point in the middle of the night, Spider's door creeps open, and he just sort of slinks out. It's that classic scene where he'd be lighting a cigarette if they weren't on a wooden ship in them.
Actually, you wouldn't believe how popular, even into the Victorian age, tobacco was on sailing vessels, because everything on a ship, the wood itself is practically impossible to get to burn. Actually, you have to work.
That does make sense.
Yeah,
You'd think
you actually have
they
to
would
work
treat it well.
To get a salted deck to burn. So yeah.
I think rather than that, he comes out and just tries to look casual by flipping a coin or something in and out, something like that. And then after the third flip, catches it in midair and looks over at Chevalier and says, "There has to be another reason that you two are heading towards the plains. She might not know what it is. I'm guessing you do."
There's a sort of like I said, he's kind of in this sort of standby thing where he's aware, but he's not and so there's a sort of pause, and then he sort of comes up and sort of turns and looks at you. You are referring to the reason we are traveling from the capital.
I can't say it makes a whole lot of sense, the two of you leaving the capital, unless there is something to it.
You think we have ulterior motives?
Just motives, I think.
I am following Alexandre. I promised I would keep her safe.
What do you know about this song business?
Not much. It is guiding her
That's one word
some,
for it.
its ultimate purpose is unclear. Its objective is part of her journey will be to figure out the song's intent.
Do you trust it?
The song. The last two people that it has chosen are the people I would also, if I had to pick someone for this task. I have seen what it enables people to do. I exist because of it, in a way.
Right.
I do not know what it wants, but I trust Alexandre.
She's a good kid. A complete brat, don't get me wrong, but she's actually good, isn't she?
She wants to help. She wants to use the abilities that she has been granted to help. But what she is doing, where it will lead, is dangerous. And so I am going with her.
Yeah, me too. With Lucas, that is. He needs this journey. And it scares me sometimes because he's good like that. But sometimes I see the world trying to get to him and how it's darkness can change people. I want to protect him from that.
I have found that when it comes to protecting people from the darkness of the world, it is very easy to use that darkness yourself. It is often quite effective, often quicker, more expedient. But I have found in the long term it does not help. Battling the darkness with more darkness just creates and strengthens it. We need people like Lucas and like Alexandre. Long term, that will be a better way.
Exactly.
It is important, I find, despite all the else, despite that it might make my task harder, but I try to set a good example.
Well, I am much good at that.
Did not say it was easy.
Do you believe the world can be a better place, Chevalier? That people like Lucas and Alexandre could lead us there?
I believe it deserves the chance to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. Me too. Good chat. Flip the coin and then just head up on deck.
Okay, I like that.
Can everyone have legend points? Can I just hand them out? Just like
No.
This is why, as soon as you said that, Michelle, that you can get legend points for extraordinary roleplay, I'm like, oh, we're all just drowning in legend.
Yeah, we're just
Love
this
this
isn't acceptable.
It's like the old
whenever they're
inspiration
present,
rules.
well, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else that needs saying, as it were? All right.
Nothing comes to mind.
So we're going to
Not in
start
the
out
first
the morning after the conversation. It's probably I'm for time purposes. What I'm going to say is that Alexandre and Lucas's conversation was the second afternoon of the trip, and then the conversation between Spider and Chevalier was just after midnight. Getting into the third day of the trip. So it's just before dawn on the third day of the trip. When probably Spider at this point in time has gone back to bed. The sounds of the ship and everything else are sort of becoming comfortable noises. The wind has been favorable for the past couple of days. The ship hasn't had to do a lot of course changes to make progress, what they call tacking, where you do this zigzagging process because you're running against the direction of the wind. They've been able to run true with the wind most of the trip. It's actually been pretty, so the angle of the ship has been largely the same. Sailing ships, of course, other than the square riggers, always have got a little bit of a lean on them. They actually work better with a slight lean. So it's getting it takes a little bit of getting used to, constantly walking with this slight, as though you're walking on the side of a hill the whole time. And of course, the other thing which is a little bit disturbing is every once in a while the shape of the hill changes without warning, depending, what wave you guys are going over or what have you. So every once in a while, there's this gentle motion and stuff, and you're perpetually kilted off at an angle. But even that's starting to get you. After a couple of days, most people start adapting to it, even if they're either the first time at sea, whatever. The human body is incredibly adaptable to these conditions, and so you guys are kind of getting used to all the normal noises, even when the galley cook gets up at foolish o'clock in the morning, because if you want bread, you have to make it, right? And so there's the galley goes to, there's one cook who's up at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting the bread made for the day, and so all of these little noises, even on by the end of the second day of the trip, are starting to feel almost normal, which is the reason, for lack of a better way of putting it, that the sound of someone taking a pry bar and beating a 50-gallon steel drum with it doesn't sound normal at about 6 o'clock in the morning. And you begin hearing immediately someone followed by someone's on the upper deck shouting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like immediately running up there to see what's happening.
All right.
Yeah. I reckon we all open our doors and we all see each other.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, sure. The rest of you do. Alexandre is complaining.
I'm actually going to ask everyone, just for the amusement value, to make a fortitude roll. Let me know if you don't roll over a 10.
All of us?
Yes. Just the players present.
Wait. What?
He said all of us, so I said yes, just the players present.
Right, okay.
Just not rolling over a 10, you said?
Do not roll over a 10.
I was just going to say, tell me if you do not roll over a 10. You rolled a 4. Okay. Or out of fortitude, you rolled a 4. Okay. Spider, what does Spider come up with?
A 15.
A 15, all right. Chevalier, you get advantage 2 on this roll, because technically you do not sleep. So advantage 2 means that you get your attribute dice twice more, and you take the highest.
Didn't change anything.
Didn't change anything. And what did you roll?
I got a 11.
An 11. Okay, that is higher than a 10. And Lucas.
I got a 19.
A 19. All right. So, all right. So the only person who didn't roll higher than a 10, I think, is Alexandre, correct? All right. So Alexandre very typically is sleeping through the what is sounding to the rest of you like obviously an alarm. Alexandre is still snoozing. So the scene is looking down the corridor. His Chevalier's head comes up, and immediately the doors for Spider and Lucas open. They all look at each other, and they all look at Alexandre's door, and nothing happens.
I look back at V and I'm like, or Chevalier. I'm like,
I think.
Go.
Okay.
I'll.
Go ahead.
You go check it out. I'll see what's happening here with her.
okay. I'm looking. I looked at Spider and I'm like, let's go. I've already got my sword in my hand.
Yeah,
I'm running.
I'm like flipping out the cane and running.
Mm-hmm.
I go one way. I just go back towards Alexandre's cabin.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, I mean, it's only a couple of steps away. You'll get to her cabin by the time they get to the ladder leading to the upper decks. So what is Chevalier doing?
He's not. I guess knocking with urgency. I guess would be the.
Okay.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile,
Alexandre is gently snoring.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So yeah, tonk 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 tonk. No answer.
Like if he gets there and hears snoring, he's just sort of like. And he'll just open the door.
Mm-hmm. Sure. So Alexandre in a heap under blankets, snoring. Spider and Lucas will get to the top of the ladder onto the upper decks, and the first thing which informs you that possibly things aren't going well is the arrow which goes whistling past Spider's nose. Like, open the door.
Yeah, well, I might see that, and then I'm taking the non-conventional route from there on, and I'm just going to start climbing up things.
Sure.
I have the climbing feet, so I can move just as fast upwards as sideways.
Well, and a ship is a three-dimensional space. That is one of those things you get used to, particularly sailing vessels. There is rigging, there is ropes, there are booms and spars, the masts themselves, the forecastle and the stern castle and all that stuff. There are surfaces everywhere to move over. For someone like you, anyway. For almost everyone else, it looks like a really good way to fall overboard and drowned. To you, it looks like a monkey set.
I think what's most mysterious about this moment is the brass band that starts playing in the background.
So I'm going to ask both of you two. I think perception rolls are probably the right answer. Just don't roll less than a 5.
Great. That was an 11 for myself.
Very good.
13.
13. Both of you can see off to the right-hand side, the starboard side of the
rolled
ship.
the wrong thing, but that's okay.
Oh, okay.
I have a plus a D8. It would have been a 15 instead of a 30. Whatever.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, off to the right-hand side of the ship and closing rapidly is a slightly larger, slightly taller-looking vessel where your ship, the Errant, has a single mast and a long boom. This vessel has two masts, and seems to be just a different design. It looks and it's been painted, these shades of gray that make it very difficult to see in the early morning light. Even the sails are this grayish tone that kind of blends into the background of the sunrise. And you can see several folk up on deck with bows, and they're all in the process of this cloud of arrows lifting off.
Woo.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I look down from the beam that I'm balancing on or whatever, and I'm just grinning ear to ear at Lucas, and I'm like, "Pirates!" And then yeah, I like draw my bow, and I'm gonna start firing off in the direction of the.
Sure thing.
Right,
So I'm actually going to ask.
How far away is the other ship? Are they
about
alongside
30 us? They're somewhere be 30 50 meters away. They're clearly steering. What's happening right now is the helmsman at the back of your vessel is desperately trying to steer the ship to try and veer away from them, but he's limited by the wind, or they are limited by the wind, because if you turn too far, that boom will come rocketing across the deck, and if you're not prepared for that, you can do real damage. So there's one person who's beating on the alarm drum, essentially trying to get everyone out of bed so they can do the rigging change required to try and get away from this. And the other vessel has clearly come in from the upwind angle and is overtaking, and it's just a faster ship. So what's going to happen in a few moments is those two ships are going to be basically within boarding distance.
Great. Awesome. I think I've got my shield up. There's not much I can really do until... Yeah, I'm just holding myself against all the arrows.
Yeah,
I reckon there's not much I can really do other than be ready to attack, or keeping watch of arrows that are coming so I don't get hit. The other thing I'm probably doing is like making sure all the leather straps on my armor are tight. I'm getting my sword ready, because the moment that they make contact, I'm in there. So.
Yeah. So you hoist your shield and are immediately rewarded by several thunk, 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 thunk. Basically, as a thicket of arrows slam into your shield. Meanwhile, below decks, Chevalier.
Yeah, he just sort of opens up the the cabin, and door sort of leads in and sees the cheese, and he just goes, "Alexandre."
What is it?
They're sounding some kind of alarm. Something is wrong.
Come back later.
Does Alexandre have like a thing of water or something near?
Absolutely.
Probably a glass of water, yes.
Yeah, that gets dunked on her.
That's why!
If they are sounding the alarm, chances are we are under attack.
That was unnecessary. I am up. Okay. She gets up grumpily.
All right.
Valley just like doesn't say anything else. Just steps back outside of the, shuts the door.
So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make a D20 roll plus a D4 for for your ship's helmsman, and that will be because of course he's short-staffed. They are short-staffed. They don't have enough crew required to move the rigging and make all the changes required for big changes, of course. And then the second roll will be a D20 and a D8 for the other ship to see if they can actually close the distance. So that is a 3 and a 3, so that's a 6. And your ship rolls a 4 and a 4, which is an 8. So that's not a huge change. So the other two vessels your helmsman is doing a surprisingly good job of steering this vaguely erratic course while still managing to not allow the other vessel to get too close. I'm going to ask... so what is Lucas's guard stat? You are muted, and thus I cannot hear you telling me what your guard stat is.
21.
21. Okay. That's a really high guard stat. These guys don't actually have a bow ability, so they're basically blind firing with their agility is a 3. So I'm going to give them a disadvantage of 1, A 3 is a d8, so they're going to roll 2 d8s and take the lowest of the 2 dice. So I'm going to make. There's going to be a couple of arrows which are going to come whistling in at Lucas, because he's now obviously a guy with a sword and a shield on the upper deck, looking very much not like a sailor, so obvious target. All right, so that is a 13, and then 3, so a 16. So the arrow bounces off armor, no effect. And then a 17 plus a 2, which is a 19. That one was close because they actually dropped a 7 for the disadvantage. So, yeah, that one literally skips off your helm just as you're tying your helm strap, right?
Oh, glad I got that one on.
Yeah, a few of the crew members are coming. Everyone was kind of caught in their hammocks because early in the morning. There's basically a bare number. The crew isn't. It's not a terribly large crew to start with, and that everyone was trying to get a decent night's sleep. So there's everyone is coming to the decks as quickly as they can. People literally pulling boots on as they're coming outdoors and things like that. Spider. I will ask you to go ahead and you're up on your deck. You found yourself. Let's get you to make probably an agility roll to see how well you do moving through the rigging. Keep in mind it's not like climbing a building. Buildings don't shift by 20 to 30 degrees at a vertical angle. Because because literally the ship is swerving, so every time the ship swerves, the mast changes angle depending on the amount of wind hitting it, and then plowing through waves and stuff. So yeah.
Is this the kind of opportunity I could lobby for advantage because I have the climbing feat, or I'm not sure if that's
so
the
for
kind
lack
of
of
thing
a better way
you do
of
in
putting
this
it, the reason
system?
you don't get disadvantage is because you have the climbing feat.
Okay, right, yeah. Well, then I got an 18.
An 18, yeah. So I'm going to say you've managed to get yourself. You're about halfway up the mast. There's a guy up in the crow's nest, the lookout, but there's probably space enough up there. You're about halfway up the mast. You're moving pretty quickly, all things considered. It's a new environment. You really haven't a chance to. You've been helping out as you can and what have you, but climbing through the rigging and stuff is the sort of thing that'll get passengers looked at funny. So you haven't been doing it. So you're sort of learning as you go. So you're about halfway up to the crow's nest, but you probably could sort of get yourself looped through some ropes and take a shot at someone if you wanted to deal with a disadvantage 1 on the attack.
Yeah, cool. So I for an attack, I just make an agility roll, right, against the guard.
So I was just gonna say, so yeah, it's so whatever your agility is, and you have so it's gonna be a disadvantage 1. So if you've got agility 3, you would roll how many dice? Do you think?
I have agility 5, so I roll a d20 plus 2d6.
So what you'll do is roll a third d6, and you take the lowest of the 3 dice.
Yeah, so I drop the highest.
Yeah, drop the highest. Yep.
Okay. Well, the d6s didn't do that well, so that's fine. But that's still 15 plus 3, 18.
18. That is a hit. You take an aim at one of the archers because that's a good person to shoot.
Yep.
And he's only got a guard of 14, so go ahead and see if you manage to hit them.
Yeah, so I believe it does damage equal to how much more than their guard that is.
Yes.
So if their guard is within 3, it just deals 3.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, these guys have got a guard of 14. You rolled an 18.
Yeah, so they take 4 damage. Now, was this person caught off guard or otherwise unaware of my attack coming at them?
I tell you what, let's do they even have he doesn't even have persistent. So what is perception based on? That is hang on.
It's its
Perception.
own. Yeah, it's its own stat. It's within mental stats.
Okay, so he's got he just gets a D20. So let me say let me see if I roll really high on a D20, and otherwise he doesn't even know you're up there.
Sure. Yep.
That's actually an 18. There's
okay.
What? So I'm going to say he.
That's what I rolled on my agility before, so that probably makes sense. That he's
so for lack of a better way of putting it, he's looking. He knows there's someone up in the crow's nest, and so as he's watching, just in case that turns out to be a sniper, because that's a common thing to do on ships, is put snipers in crow's nests. So he sees the arrow coming in just before it strikes him, so he's aware of it, tries to block or dodge or whatever, right?
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, cool. Well, then I do not do lethal damage. I just do standard attack damage.
All right. So that winds up being 3 points. Did you say?
I don't. I rolled an 18 over 14, so it'll be 4 points again.
4 points of damage. 4 damage. Okay, 4 damage out of 10. All right. 1 sec. Just there we go. So yeah, so one guy takes an arrow, kind of staggers back, and a whole bunch of people are now pointing up in your direction, mostly because you actually, for lack of a better way of putting it, they're pointing up towards the top of the ship. They're not pointing at you. They've clearly decided that because of course, what's the natural place that an arrow from on high would come from? The guy in the crow's nest, right? So they're all looking at him now instead of you.
Works for me.
So that's that. We're going to go back to Chevalier and Alexandre. What are you two up to? Alexandre, you are awake, whether you wish to be or not.
I mean, boots and up, I guess.
Sure.
Following V.
Okay. V, are you waiting for her to get dressed, or are you heading straight up?
I'll wait.
All right. Okay, so then we'll do the dice test for the two ships again to see if the battlefield changes substantially. Next round, they'll both be rolling even dice. Your ship rolls a natural 20, so they roll a total of 38 plus 1 is 39. Whoever it is that's on the helm right now is probably going to get a raise at the end of this. The other vessel manages to roll a princely sum of 17, which would be a pretty good roll under normal circumstances, but yeah, so you've actually managed to open the distance a little bit, and so they're not going to be able to get within range of lobbing grappling hooks and things like that this round. All right. So yeah, let's go back. So there's going to be a volley of arrows that come. By this point, most of the crew are up on the decks. There's stuff being moved around. They're in the process of working madly on a winch, which seems to have a mangonel or the equivalent of it being cranked up onto the deck out of the cargo hold. And yeah, there we go. And so. We're going to do... The other vessel is going to make a couple of attacks. I'm going to... Alright, so again, these guys... I just need another dice. 1 sec. My very expensive dice bag.
Yay!
Alright, let's see here.
I'm not seeing enough dice there, I'm just saying.
17 and 2 is a 19. All right. So Lucas, you said your guard was a 21. All right. So another arrow. Basically, this one you're going to basically you're going to knock this one out of the air with your sword as it comes darting in at you. And another arrow is going to come in. And that is going to be a 14. That's no good. Spider, what's your guard?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
Spider, what is your guard?
Ah, my God. Yes. 16.
16. All right. And that is a 4 plus 2, which is a 6. That arrow went nowhere near you. And then I'm going to roll a couple of attacks at the poor bugger who's up in the crow's nest, who they think is the real problem. They met. Oh, ouch! That hurt. Okay. There's going to be a cry of pain from up on high.
I like it. I'm sort of secreting myself behind the mast and like looking up as a couple of arrows puncture him.
And then another couple of arrows go whistling past up on high. And then the real kicker, if you will, which is the loud clunk sound that comes from the other ship. And what looks to be a football-sized hunk of rock coming this way. That is a 19. The ship's guard is a 20. So that one literally bounces off the upper deck. It lands at a shallow angle and doesn't dig in and skips off. Lucas, that's has seen those before. That is straight up siege weapons. That's a catapult or a mangonel or something like it that's lobbing, football-sized rocks. Yep. By the way, if one of those hits you, it's bad.
Okay. Seeing the person get attacked on the crow's nest. I don't know if it's my turn, but I wanna do a Bane attack.
Oh right. What is it you're planning on doing?
This one is provoke, and I can use it with my might.
All right. How are you going to do this?
I'm going to stand up and say, "Hit me, fuck." I can't swear. Hit me, you pirates.
I was just going to say, you bloody pirates. Yeah. So you're going to
you bloody pirates.
So run to the railing, make a big show of puffing out your chest, and basically taunt them into trying to pick you off as the rest of the crew.
Pretty much.
The problem is the rest of the crew are regular.
Yeah, doing some grotesque gesture at them. It's yeah. I'm just trying to get their attention.
Sure. So how's that Bane work? What does that roll against?
Let me have a look. I'm going to bring it up. This is going into the Bane's list. LMNOP.
You're looking at
provoked. Here we go. So, it is might versus resolve. Through a display of awe-inspiring force, intimidation, or leadership, you command attention as the greatest threat, causing others to fear attacking your allies.
All right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to roll a versus their resolve. The pirate's resolve is a 10. So what I want you to do is you're going to roll... normally this would be a multi-attack. So you wind up taking a disadvantage. But because we're basically treating the group of enemy archers as a single blob, if you will, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So
I think the way I'm going to try and get their attention and convince them I'm the biggest threat is I'm going to pick that cannonball up and throw it back at them.
I mean, it doesn't go very far, but you just overhand this thing back into the water between the two ships and then go, right, that guy needs to go. So go
That's
ahead
impressive.
And roll. So go ahead and roll. Your target number is a 10.
So that was a 7 all up.
A 7 all up. All right. So the good news is you don't drop the thing on your foot.
Great.
But they ignore you. They are highly trained, disciplined,
and look at the armored man with a sword yelling at them, and then turn back to the archer.
Yeah. As far as storyline falling forward with Open Legend.
I'm just gonna say. So all right then. So so what's your proposal?
I don't know. I'm just thinking I probably
literally
get
fall
shot
forward.
a lot.
I reckon I fall in the water or something. Like it would be just.
No, that's
extra failure. You're adding failure.
You wear armor. That's not failing forward. That's failing.
Oh,
so
right.
Say you going into the water 20 miles.
Failing forward is you get the thing you're trying to do, but within a new penalty.
Yes. So
so
the way fail forward works, and by the way, anyone can call fail forward anytime they want on a failed roll. You just have to explain to me what it is that you're willing to trade.
Sorry, I'm imagining falling forward off the boat as failing forward.
It's a really niche rule, but every now and again when you roll badly, you just collapse. Characters face palm.
Yeah, I totally.
You could, as an option to throw forward, you could accept like when they attack you, not only would they get disadvantage on attacking other people, but they would now get advantage attacking you.
Yeah,
so I would so much attention.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Great. I don't know how that works, but okay. So I clearly have maybe I got the cannonball to them. Maybe I actually land through it and it landed on their deck. And they're like, that is, okay, this guy.
All right. So okay, but that's more success. That's not failing forward. So you tell me.
Oh, right.
So
Okay.
Well, the idea is that then he's like so exerted from throwing the cannonball that he can't dodge out of the way as well, and so they get
I
advantage
just gonna say,
to
I tell
hit
you
it.
what.
I mean, I could fail forward in terms of like I do get their attention, but at the same time, my leg slips underneath me, so
Okay,
I
are
can't
you
like
willing to
whatever
let me do it. Let me.
penalty you give me, Michelle, from that, like trying to lift that cannonball or something, or
Yeah. So hang on. So how about this? How about you're going to wind up. There are going to be 2 attacks directed at you, and how about they both come up with advantage 2? Okay, because yet you hiff this thing back at them, and this massive fire is going to be directed back at you. I'm only going to make 2 rolls. I'm not going to roll 20 times. That's ridiculous. So I'm just going to. But those 2, because there's so many arrows actually being directed at you, it'll be those 2 attacks will be advantage 2. You okay with that? As a fail forward.
yeah,
All right.
yeah. I
No, that's cool.
I don't know what advantage 2 means, but I'm now really worried, Michelle.
Advantage 2 means that normally so literally they just get 2 extra dice to roll, 2 extra skill dice. So in their case, they're rolling a D4 skill dice. They're going to, instead of rolling 1d4, now they're a disadvantage 1 because they're actually not very good with bows. So what's going to happen is that will cancel out one of their levels of disadvantage, so it'll be a d20 plus a d4. And then because they get a second level advantage, they'll actually be rolling 2d4 and taking the highest. It's not a huge change, but what it does mean is that they're slightly more likely to hit you with an arrow that way. You all right with that? All right. So they'll make their rolls in just a minute. Spider, what's Spider up to?
Do I keep firing? Yeah, that one guy spotted me and started shooting at me.
Yeah.
So I got to finish him off before I can do any other shenanigans, basically.
Yes. Calling shenanigans.
So, yeah, I mean, I'd love to try and disable that siege weapon because I'm very worried about a cannonball hitting the mast. But I am. I think I have to deal with the guy who can see me first.
Sure. So his guard is a 14.
Okay. One of those explodes.
Oh, wow.
11 plus 12, 18. That's 20.
Ooh, okay.
So
He's
6
guard,
damage?
so you're 6 up. All right. All right. That's going to be 10 damage. He only has 10 hit points. So that arrow is going to slam home. He'll stagger back, fall over. And that's the end of him.
Ah. What were you saying, Chantel, about hitting people with weapons in this new system?
I'm frankly surprised. Congratulations.
Had to happen sooner or later, right?
We're also proud
Statistically.
All right. So I'm going to resolve. Essentially, what's going to happen is this is going to be a pile of arrows that land, and then the door's going to open, and Chevalier and Alexandra are going to be walking out on the deck. Is sort of how the scene is going to unfold. So I'm going to roll a d20, if I can find it, because there we are, because dice are hard. And so I've got 2d4 here. There's going to be 2 attacks made on Lucas. The first one is a 16, and the high dice is a 3, so that's a 19. Arrow ricochets off of your shoulder. You know, what's happened is that you've hefted this thing through, and the mechanical joint of your artificial leg has locked. And so as you're trying to get this thing undone, you look up just in time to get the shield up and do an arrow. And keep in mind, this is a thicket of arrows that's raining down on you as you've got, a 20-odd archers unloading on you, right? The rest of the crew, by the way, are cheering you on because they understand what it is you've just... First off, they've never seen anyone do what you've just done. Literally pick up a football-sized hunk of stone and rifle it back at a bunch of pirates. He did a what? So that's the first thing.
Because most people aren't mad. What the hell?
And then when he's basically yelling the equivalent of "come at me, bro," across the gap at a pirate ship. So, yeah, all right, and the second roll, that is a 17... And that high roll is a 3. That's a 20, which is not a 21. So, yeah. I'm actually going to change.
That was so
dice.
close.
You're 21 guard? Holy moly.
So yeah, so again, you've got, like I say, and this isn't an arrow. Like, keep in mind, like we're talking, there's 4 or 5 arrows bouncing off your armor. There's 4 or 5 fresh new shots that have just landed in the middle of your shield. Your artificial leg now has an arrow sticking out of it, etc., etc.
You look behind him, and there's this like Lucas-shaped silhouette made out of arrows.
Yes, the end scene from Hero. I mean, so...
Yeah, like it just goes vroom, and then I'm like,
still breathing. So yeah. Okay, so that, and literally, so just as the door, and literally the last arrow hits the deck, the door opens, and Chevalier and Alexandre emerge out into the upper decks. At this point, by the way, chaos is the word du jour. The ringing of the alarm drum, which literally was a steel drum with a crowbar being beaten against it because it's the loudest thing. That's literally what they were doing to attract it. That has long stopped. However, the scything sound of 20-odd arrows landing in a volley as you guys literally push the door open is, to Chevalier's ears, really obvious what that sound was. You can hear the half-dozen members of the crew shouting and yelling instructions back and forth at each other. You can hear the captain yelling instructions as the ship prepares to come about. Literally massive course change to try and steer away. Yeah, so what are you two doing as you emerge onto the upper decks?
Sorry, just like opens door, sees rain of arrows, closes door, goes back to bed. It's like, no, this is not.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yes.
Come back in like an hour or hour and a half.
Okay.
Not.
Good night. Crawl back into bed.
So, like the other ship's just in bow shot. They're not actually like.
Yeah. I'm about to do the maneuvering roll in a moment here to see if the
Yeah.
changes dramatically, but...
Question. What is range? What is range as a concept?
It is, quote, medium range currently.
Okay. Very good to know. If I were to use a Bane it would be okay because it's at a medium range.
Mm-hmm. You guys, by the way, are just off on the map. Allow me to do something here. I'm going to put them. Oops.
Okay.
Let's close this, and then I think, can I right-click this? No, this character doesn't have edit permissions on that. 1 sec. I'll do it from over here. You guys are just off the tip of. Do you see this point of land over here where you're basically just in the area of this, basically between this point of land and this point of land. You're sort of in this cove area, hugging the coast, is where this battle's taking place, by the way.
Okay.
So.
I don't like those arrows, which have just landed as I've stepped out, and I'm really tired, and I was trying to sleep. So I would like to blind them.
Hell hath no scorn like an Alexandre napping? What?
Yes, exactly that thing.
All right, so go
Don't
ahead.
wake a sleeping Alexandre. Let sleeping Alexas lie.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All of those things.
Yeah. So your target resolve is at 10. By definition, you can only affect one of them at a time unless you want to take a bunch of disadvantage for multi-target.
How many are there?
There are 20.
Right, that's a lot.
Yes, there's definitely a lot, which is the reason the Lucas-shaped outline on the deck is pretty impressive.
There are 19, Michelle.
But yes, there are now 19.
Okay. Oh, okay, okay. I'm going to blind 2?
Sure. So just
Because there's no one currently on the deck, right? Oh, hang on. Who's currently? I'm not a sailor. Who is driving their ship?
That is the helmsman, is what you would call that person. So just so
would
we're
like-
clear,
Mhm.
so there are about 20 archers. About 20 archers. You can't see the boots sticking up in the air of the one that Spider got rid of. So about 20 of them formed up in the middle of the ship, launching arrows at you. There are 3 of them which are in the process of getting ready to fire the siege weapon again. And then there's a couple of chaps, lads and lasses, who are standing up around the area of where the steering wheel is, which Alexandria would recognize because your ship has one of those.
Right.
So,
Alexandria hasn't seen this. Has Alexandria seen the siege weapon?
well, I tell you what, make a
Does she
learning
know
roll.
about this?
Make a learning roll, and let's see if you've ever had reason to have encountered one before.
Okay. That's a 10 total.
She has heard of siege weapons. She has never seen one. I think that's a reasonable.
Okay.
I think for a noble woman, I think that's a reasonable statement.
So she's going to aim for the helmsman
Sure.
and try to blind at least him. You said there were how many
There are
were
3
around
people.
the?
There are 3 people back at the helm area. So the way it works is that multi-attack, you gain a level of disadvantage for every additional target. So if you're going to attack 2 people, you get disadvantage 1. If you're going to attack 3 people, you get disadvantage 2.
Okay. Which is rolling.
So you would roll 2 extra dice, and then you would
take the lowest 2.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right.
So that's a 10 on the d20, and my lowest 2 are both a 2, so that is 14 in total.
14. All right. So what you're going to see is at the back of the ship, 2 of the individuals. Hang on a second. Bane resistance. No, doesn't apply. Doesn't apply. You're going to see 2 of the guy who's actually steering suddenly put his hands in front of his face and start doing this. You're going to see the woman beside him immediately reach out and grab onto something and start looking around, but you can just tell the way the head's moving. Can't actually see. The third person grabs the helmsman, shoves him aside, and takes control of the ship. Much bigger individual. Not quite lizard folk sized, somewhere between Lucas and Chevalier's the size of the third individual that's just apparently been able to resist the effect of the attack. So yes, you have 2 of them blind.
And staying behind V.
Mm-hmm.
Because, well, logic.
Yep, makes sense. All right, so how long does the blind effect last? How does that work?
As long as the effect so they can resist with it 3 times each round. If they fail 3 times, it lasts a minute.
Okay.
So it's per round or a minute.
Okay, so they get 3 stabs to get rid of it, as it were. Fair enough. All right, cool. I will keep track of that. So they get 2. So that's they're at blind. So they're at 0, 3. So the first attempt to resist counts as an attempt. So they're both at blind, 1 of 3. Got it.
And that was at nighttime, wasn't it?
Yep.
That is really bright light. That's what that looks like.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, that the equivalent of a flare of brighter than sunlight suddenly erupts on the back deck near the helm is sort of what it probably looks like.
Well, I mean, are we at night? I thought we were at dawn.
I was just going to say it's the pre-gloom of dawn. The sun hasn't yet broken the horizon. You can see the.
I mean, a
orange
flashbang's still a flashbang, so you know.
Yeah.
Flashbang's a flashbang.
You know, a million candles is a million candles, no matter how bright you think it was. All right. So that is that. The siege weapon. Alexandria is about to find out what the siege weapon does. And so siege is a d8. Rolling off the table doesn't help anyone. Natural 20 on the siege roll plus 5. And that is a 35 for the siege roll.
That's the natural 20 noise.
Yeah, I was about to say, if anyone says natural
was that?
20.
Someone has rigged the joy buzzer. Fantastic.
Is that a thing?
I don't.
I'd scare the hell out of me.
That scared me.
I was just going to say, I
was
didn't
quite
do that.
amazing.
I presume that was one of you two having some fun with it. I actually don't know what that was. It doesn't seem to be anything on my side, so yeah. Did someone just type a message into Zoom chat? No. Okay,
No,
so that's
nothing would have been able to do that.
All right, so I have no idea what that sound is. but
I've
it's terrible.
never heard that sound before.
I was just going to say, although I probably should actually, I probably should put together some kind of a fireworks button for every time the villain open ends. So that was a 35 versus 18. So they're going to inflict the immobile bane on you guys. So, but just straight up, that you hear the ka-chunk of the siege weapon going off. By the way, for no one who's ever heard one of these things, a mangonel going off, it basically is a pile of elastic type material, usually horsehair, that's been torqued around to the point where there are several tons of tension, and then you crank it back, you put a rock there, and there's a crossbar here, so it does this. And so when it slams into that crossbar, it does rather much sound like a gun going off. So you guys hear this god-awful clunk, and then the next thing that happens is the football-sized stone intersects with the mast. So
That's bad for me.
Yeah, I'm just going to say, so I'm going to ask Spider at this point to do something really cool involving agility, probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's this is time for that parkour backflip, obviously.
Obviously.
Dice.
High roll is what you're looking for. You're basically about halfway up a fairly tall mast. Suddenly this thing has gotten cut out from underneath you. It's still tied to the deck on the two sides, but there are several tons of wind pressure on that sail. So literally what happens is it's going to rotate 90 degrees practically in midair and then come slamming down onto the deck, and you're hanging onto the ropes. So the objective is not to wind up under the very telephone pole diameter sized piece of wood.
All right. Well, I rolled a 9, a 3, and a 4 for a total of 16.
16. All right. I think you've just been immobiled too. You're not under the mast. You're under the ropes. So you've got this pile of ropes and stuff like that. There's a shriek and a splash off the side of the ship as the poor bugger in the crow's nest goes over the side, and immediately you can feel the change in the motion of the ship. Because, well, essentially the engine just got taken out, if you will. There's one sail up at the front of the ship going flappity, 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 flappity right now, but the primary sail surface is now mostly in the water. So yeah, that's probably not a good turn of events. I'm thinking that's actually an excellent place to go for a break. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the two ships will have collided alongside, and those 20 pirates odd are going to be swarming over the side of the ship, looking to take prisoners. They are in fact going to be trying to take prisoners. If you want to fight them, you can. They're pirates. They're here for the cargo, not you guys. So that's where we'll leave it. So
We're the cargo.
Awkward, yes. Oh, yes. So yeah, we'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll be right back. Okay, folks, we are back. Thank you very much, Vesuvius, for the Twitch Prime subscription. That is a huge help. Yeah, thank you. That's cool. All right. Yeah, that's fantastic. Appreciate it. So, all right. So, what's basically happened over the next couple of minutes is that your ship cannot maneuver. The other vessel is inexorably drawing closer and basically planning on coming alongside. Your ship's captain, Sornus, will come over to where you lot are. Or at least, by the way, at this point, Lucas can move again. There's going to be a group of people who will rush over and try and drag Spider out from underneath the pile of ropes. And keep in mind, there's only like 8 people on this ship, I think, total. And so, other than you guys, the ship's got a crew of 8. So there's going to be a couple of, someone's going to be running over to the guardrail to hurl a rope with a flotation on it to drag the wounded individual who fell off the crow's nest when the mast went over. He's in pretty bad. Whoever they are is in pretty bad shape. Sornus will come over and look at the bunch of you and say, are you planning on fighting them?
Yes. What? I've got my sword out.
I just look. My crew aren't much fighters. We got knives. We got clubs. We're not going to be able to help a lot. If you take that bunch on, there's not a lot we can do. I mean, I can probably account for a couple, but just so we're clear, if you want to put sword to that lot, I'll refund you and then some. All right. Because otherwise they're going to empty the cargo bay. They'll want everything out of the cargo on the ship, and then I'm in for it. So if you want to help, I'm not going to argue with you. But the problem is my folk just don't have what it's going to take to stop all that.
Captain, we'll do what needs doing. And we ain't gonna ask for no refund either. You can just owe us one, right? And I'll wink at her.
Yes, buy us a drink of port.
I'll take that.
It's like a second away from going, oh, what? Oh,
yeah, she's gonna grin and say, I'll take that deal. Okay. So, we're going to stick to Theater of the Mind. I'm not going to worry too much about 27 people stacked in a neat square and all of them with advantage and all that usual thing that we get into with D&D. I will do, for different things, I will be throwing battle maps out when I think it makes more sense. But for this sort of thing, I think we'll stick to Theater of the Mind. So the other ship is going to pull in alongside. You're going to see, even before it gets in too close, there's going to be all of the crew. So what Sornus is going to suggest you guys do is sort of basically hunker down behind whatever cover, kind of get out of sight. She's going to muster her crew up in obvious places with their hands up, yelling, "We surrender," sort of thing, so that they'll take another couple of volleys of arrows as the other ship closes. Their grappling hooks will get lobbed over the two ships, and literally what they're doing is they've got crew on deck capstans cranking the two ships together so they bump together under the pirate vessels. A bit larger, it's got control, it's got the sails and everything to keep the two vessels head into the wind, so you're kind of in this raft rolling over the ocean, and the pirates come charging aboard. So, I will ask you all, hang on now, just 1 second here, I need to double check something real fast. Yeah, alright, so I'm going to say, for purposes of this, that the other crew is suspicious, so there's not going to be any surprise per se. I mean, they know Lucas was here, he was just yelling at them. But they probably, he made a bit of a spectacle of himself. They were just trying to murder him intently a moment ago. They're pretty sure that whoever that was up in the mast is done and gone, that's okay, and they don't know what a Chevalier in Alexandria is. So they're mostly coming on board, trying to figure out where the great muck and lout with the sword and shield is. And I'm going to say you folks all get to go first. So, who has what are your agilities respectively, please? Spider, I think you've got the highest agility.
Yeah, 5. So,
okay,
do we roll for like an initiative
I'm
or
just
anything like that?
I'm going to effectively give you guys the opening volley, as it were. Normally, you do initiatives a D20 plus your agility. I think is the way it works.
Okay.
And then if there's a tie, then you add your agility as a decimal. So in your case, it'd be so the person with the high. If you get a tie, it's the person with the highest agility goes first.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure what you're armed with, but some weapons give you advantage on that roll as well.
Yeah. I guess it depends.
Swift, if they're a swift weapon, it's advantage too.
Yeah, I have daggers, but I'm probably shooting here, not like trying to jump in with daggers right now.
I think it's sort of like you either have to be armed with them, or that's what you're using that turn. So if your action was to change to the daggers and still do stuff.
My feeling is that this is let you guys close and me pepper them with arrows, so I'm gonna not go with the daggers so I don't get the advantage.
All right. I need to make a couple of resistance rolls for the pirates who are affected by the blindness. So now, how do they roll? How do they resist the effect of the spell, Alexandri? The Bane. Do you know that?
It's against their guard, so they're rolling guard.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
Let's just check that real quick.
Yep.
They don't roll guard.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
How's it work?
I don't know if it's against what I've already rolled, the 14, or if it's against.
I think it's against the power level of your ability,
which is 5.
And so I think if resistance works the same way, it's generally twice the power level plus 10 is like the DC. And so it's if you're having to cast it not as attack, I think it's the same as they're resisting it.
Yeah, what I'm just trying. Yeah, it's
this Bane is just a D20 or 10, just a D20. 10 plus you succeed. Thank you, Great Moustache. Sitting in chat. That's helpful.
Oops.
So it's a.
Resistance is a thing. Okay, resistance is something different.
Just a D20.
Good to know.
Okay, cool. Thank you. But a little more complicated. I appreciate that, Moustache. We're just trying to figure this out.
That's a lot easier. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I do appreciate that, Moustache, by the way. This is literally the first time we've done this. Okay, so that chap is still blinded. So that is blindness 2 on the helmsman. The other fellow rolled a 13, so they are no longer blinded. All right, so that's important to know. So one of the helmsman still can't see, which means somebody else is having to steer as the helmsman is sitting dejectedly in a corner, waiting, hoping desperately that this is going to go away any meaningful amount of time. Probably not. All right. So yeah, you got the two vessels will clash together, and then the battle begins. So I think we're just going to go in amongst the group in order of agility score. And then we'll worry about proper initiatives next round. It's not really a turkey shoot. There's no advantage. You don't have surprise, but essentially you're getting to start the battle on your terms. So, Spider, what are you going to do? Actually, I will ask Spider first to make a perception roll. Is the first thing I actually need Spider to do, I think.
Sure. I'm quite good at that. 19.
A 19. Okay. So Spider is going to realize that there are two individuals who are back by the helm who stand out compared to the rest of the crew. One of them is in the process of shaking their head, wiping at their eyes, and then is a process of grabbing a crossbow and cocking it. The other one is the person is a fairly tall, muscular half-orc who's currently steering the vessel, who's yelling orders. Notable.
This looks like a captain and first mate, presumably.
That would make some sense, yes.
Right. All right. But does the half orc have any like ranged weaponry obvious on them?
You rolled a 19. I think what you can probably see is that not far from where they are, there is the equivalent of a naginata clipped onto something that's easily within grabbing distance, but doesn't seem to have any ranged weapon that you can see. Whereas the person you're thinking is the first mate, obviously loading a crossbow.
But also, so they look like they have shook off the blinding effect?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, then that's the person that I'm going for. I'm going to try and... I trust in V and Lucas to take the front line of people who are boarding.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try and pick off anyone using ranged weaponry.
Sure thing.
Yeah, so I'm going to sort of barrel roll out from behind the barrel I was behind and take a shot.
Sure thing.
It's an explodey. 24.
24. Yes, that is definitely a hit. Guard is 16, so that's an 8.
Didn't quite get the 10 plus. Yeah, so 8 damage.
Wow, that is a meaty thunk. Yes.
Now, in this particular case, I imagine this applies because they were unaware of the attack.
I think that's reasonable. Yep.
So that also means they take 5 lethal damage, which means, or 5 of the damage, not on top. It's 5 of the 8 is lethal. So their maximum hit points are reduced by 5.
Wow. Okay, so they're going to require magical healing or the equivalent.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Or yeah, I think you can recover 1 lethal damage per day by yourself.
Yeah. Lethal 5.
Per point of toughness.
Per point of toughness. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's still like they're 8 down from their max. It doesn't do any extra damage, but.
Yep. So staggers backwards, crossbow bolt sticking out of them. They're immediately going to look around. 2. Are they going to be able to spot you? A 2 means they're rolling a d6.
Yeah, and I'm gonna like try and get behind more cover again.
Mm-hmm. That roll don't even. Yeah, they completely. They were so focused on the boarding as it's happening. With Lucas doing what and Chevalier doing whatever it is they're doing, had no bloody clue. The crossbow bolt slams into them from offside. They whirl around to look to see where that shot came from, and you're nowhere to be found. All right. Anyone with an agility 4? Agility 3. Agility 2. Agility 1.
I got 2.
I have agility 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
very good.
I think we all have 2.
Okay, very good. So let's just let's start with let's start with Lucas since he was the one hurling taunts. So yeah, Lucas, what are you up to? The two ships grind together. The bunch of pirates come swarming over. They got what looked to be what was it? Hang on a second. Michelle flailing for notes. Machete. They're wielding machete, coming scrambling over. All manner of races, sizes, shapes, genders, pirates, and swinging. And is Lucas, sort of standing defiantly, more of the come at me, or what are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm standing there holding another cannonball, and I just drop it on the deck and wield my sword and then run in.
Okay, fantastic. All right. All right. Go ahead.
I have never attacked with a sword, so this is kind of great. How many attacks can I do? I can do 1, definitely.
Yeah. So the way it works is that if you multi-target, you add
disadvantage equal to the number of targets.
Yes. So if you're going to attack 3 of them, then that is 4 points of disadvantage. Now, that literally means you roll 4 extra attribute dice, and you would take the lowest 4.
Okay.
Without, I think, certain
up to
you
the
can't
maximum
attack the
of your
same
actual
person
attribute.
multiple times.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and attack 2 people.
Okay, so that's going to be a disadvantage 1 on the attack. So how many? So what would you normally roll?
I would normally roll.
I think it's disadvantage 2.
I'm using
It's disadvantage 2. It starts at
disadvantage 2.
Okay.
It's the same. It's disadvantage equal to the number of people you're attacking.
Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Yep.
Correct.
All right.
So I normally roll a 2d6.
2d6. You're going to roll 4d6, and you're going to take the lowest 2 of those. All right, plus a d20.
Right.
So let's see what you. So their guard stat is a 14. You're trying to roll higher than 14 on your attack.
Ooh. Okay. Wish me luck, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That is a 2 and a 3 and a 9. So 14. Hey!
Yes! So you're going to have hit 2 of them. Yes, absolutely. All right.
Lucas runs in there with his sword and his shield after dropping that cannonball. He's just going to hack at them.
All right.
Yeah.
And so that's 3 points of damage each, yes?
Yeah.
I think that's the way that works. So we've got 2 more crew with oops, and Michelle can't type today. There we go, and that's that. So these guys have both got 3 points of damage, 3 damage.
I assume in like the waiting time for the ship to come back and hit the deck, he would have like sorted out his funky leg.
Yes, so
he would have like
that's been resolved. You're back into regular fighting trim, as it were. So you're going to, so the pirates will come crashing over. There's going to be swords and machete and hits on your shield and stuff. You're going to be able to strike and hit a couple of them. Very cool. All right. Chevalier, because you're basically going to be the next person that the wave of pirates crashes into.
Where are we on the ship?
I would presume. I was just going to say, unless you tell me otherwise, you are in the midship section, which is going to be level deck to level deck with the other vessel. The two high points on your ship currently would be the forecastle and the stern castle. So the forecastle is the forward part, and the stern castle, of course, is where the steering and stuff is done from. Those are about 2 meters higher than the midships area.
And then there's like this clump of pirates is coming across the middle.
Yeah, and so
just
there's
stepping over because they're next to each other.
There is the place. Now keep in mind, there's a little bit of chaos everywhere because you've got the mast has fallen down over that area. There's ropes all over the place. What's left of the sail is flapping in the breeze, and so there's all kinds of things to trip on and that sort of thing. But generally speaking, yeah, you're fighting the middle ship right now.
I think he's sort of, because he's got Alexandre, behind him, and he just sort of says, I need you to stay safe, and he sort of walks forward. And as he sort of says, like, it's kind of under his breath, but he just sort of goes, it's just like, I need you to work this time, and that's just to himself. And then he said, Alexander probably could still hear this, but he's talking. He starts talking in giant kin rather than common or whatever. And he sort of says, Alexander would understand, but he essentially says, release combat protocols and activate protection protocol target 1.
All right.
And mechanically, what I'm doing is I'm turning on my battle trance.
Okay. Yep.
So as he is striding towards this group, as we've seen before, it's this sort of, there's this substance seems to be sort of filling in with the various gaps in his armor, sort of reinforcing and buttressing parts of him, and just filling in any sort of extra weaknesses and just adding this extra layer of defense. But at the same time, what we haven't seen before, and I'm going to just quickly roll because I think I need to roll for this to make sure it works. I am trying to give Alexandre the resistance boon.
Okay. Yep, so you're rolling power activation. Yep.
Yes. numbers. Yes. That's... what do I need? Dead on. Okay. 3 and 13 is 16.
Mm-hmm.
16 is what I needed.
Yeah, it's 10 plus 2 times the
For some reason, I thought I needed higher than 16. I was like, why are you failing? No. Essentially, as he's like the same substance that kind of is just sort of almost like flowing out and then solidifying into this solid extra layer of armor.
Mm-hmm.
It's like from he's got this sort of, as you can sort of, he's quite top heavy already. He's got quite broad shoulders, got this kind of mantle as part of his armor, and like it sort of opens up a little bit, and these kind of like orbs of this material kind of almost drop, but then start to sort of drop a bit and then float, and they kind of just hover, and then they like 3 of them basically float over and form a kind of in this sort of triangle shape and sort of position themselves in front of Alexandre.
Okay.
And you can probably see a slight shimmer in the space between the 3 of them.
Yep. All right. Very cool.
And then
This is cool, whatever is going on. This is very cool.
I position myself as best I can so that between Lucas and myself, we are blocking their entrance as best as possible.
Okay, very good.
But I can't. That's all my actions.
All right. So yeah, the pirates. You're kind of noteworthy. Let's use that phrase. So there's certainly going to be pirates paying attention to Chevalier as he strides forward and the armor shifting and changing and bulking up. Alexandre.
Alexandre has been noted to have strong lungs.
I should put out. I also don't want to be. I would like to be within 15 feet of Alexandre.
Yep, sure, that's doable.
I don't know how big the ship is, but if that's doable, I would like to do that as well.
It's 20 odd meters long wouldn't be unreasonable. Yeah, just for idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Those strong lungs are what she's going to use now as she screams to disarm them.
Okay.
That she's aiming for. I'm imagining a gangplank, and that they're crossing.
Nope. The 2 ships
No.
are side to side. They're essentially
2 ships are collided, so there are people just crossing over.
just straight over. Essentially, it's like
Just hopping over.
It's like hopping a slight wall is what they're doing. Is jumping over the what they call the gunnels or the walls of the ship, just hopping over.
I'm after 3
Sure.
that are closest to my allies.
All right. Alrighty. And that's going to be. And I'm just going to put this here.
And that will be disadvantage 2, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Roll that. Oh. No. Well, that's nice. That's 18.
Wow, nice roll. So yes, that easily overcomes their resolve. So exactly what does it do? They just is it fear? How does it work that they suddenly want to drop their weapons? Yeah, with Lucas looming over them.
It is the scream is her channeling the song. So
Okay.
that just pierces into their minds.
All right. So yeah. Okay. So literally, there's this moment where what you're going to see is they're charging. Lucas has struck a couple of them. They're preparing to strike at him with their machetes, and they suddenly, literally up in this position, the hand opens, the machete clatters to the deck, and they're hanging onto their ears, desperately trying to make this non-melodic sound lose. Whatever it is they're hearing isn't nice. Let's do it that way. So they're clutching at themselves, their machetes clatter to the deck. And yes, with that level, so these guys are disarmed. that will effectively spare Lucas from being attacked this round. Which was what was because, well, everyone attacking him doesn't have a weapon.
Nice.
All right. Okay. And it's the pirate's turn, and that's where we have to end it for now. For today, folks. We're just about 5 minutes to wrap for the day.
No.
So yeah, thank you very much to the folks in the audience for the patience as we're learning live as we go here. I've read the rulebook twice in the past week and a bit, so I've got a rough idea. I've taken some notes, aide-memoire, and other than that, we're literally figuring this out as we go along. So we do appreciate the shout-outs from the audience, the help we're getting. That is great. Thank you again to Vesuvius for the subscription, and thank you for the follow, Great Mustache. That is great. Yeah, and that's it for now. Right now, what's supposed to happen is I'm supposed to pop open a script and read the upcoming schedule about what's supposed to happen. Except that I didn't get it from Eric, so I can't do that.
I believe in Chantel's ability, given that she's in every one of those
I'm
games.
in everything. I can do this.
I think it also came up in chat. It did.
It came up in chat.
Yay!
I don't know how to make it happen, but the bot will bot.
Yes,
Exclamation mark schedule.
Very good.
Oh.
Okay, we have
The save from Deep Frito.
that is
Thank you,
absolutely it.
Frito.
Thank you, Frito. Yes. All right, 5 shows Monday at 11 Eastern, Storyteller Studio, which is currently my favorite podcast. That's how I listen to it anyway. Tuesday at 12:30 Eastern. That is bloody early in the morning. Curious Case of Paddington Prowler, which is some good steampunk horror. Check it out. 11 o'clock on Wednesdays Eastern, Eternium Gate. Saturday mornings, of course, is us. And then later today at 11 o'clock this evening Eastern is the science fiction adventure Far From Home. So, yeah. And that's us. So we'll do the goodbyes, folks, and that's it for today. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you in the audience, and those of you catching up with us later on the VOD. This is Storyteller Studio. We invest in stories here. This isn't Storyteller Studio. I'm the storyteller reading the screen really badly. This is Do Respite Media, where we invest in stories. Eric, I'm sorry. I'll get it right sometime in the next 3 months. Alexandria, goodbyes. Chantel.
I am Alexandri. Sometimes I'm Chantel. I am Chantel B. You can find me at Chantel B on Twitter. You can find me here most of the time. You can find me literally here all the time. I'm not gonna lie.
Actually, all the shows that were just mentioned.
Yeah, so that's my schedule. I also turn up on Scrat's Cleanup Crew stream, which is 2 p.m. Eastern.
All right.
And that is very fun too.
Very good. All right. Jamie, goodbyes.
That's me. Catch me on @MuffinManifesto on Twitter, my website, jamie-collette.com, or on Eternium Gate here on G-Respite on Thursdays. I'm also very frequently on Streamed Shakespeare, but I'm not in the 12th night tomorrow because I needed a week off. But I will be directing Julius Caesar for them in early July, which has just been announced today.
Wow,
so that's
fantastic. Cool. All right. Drew, goodbyes.
Goodbye. My name is Drew. I am an actor puppeteer, and I am going to go to bed very shortly. But you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Drew Wilson. Also, go check out a podcast by a friend of mine, Pete Davidson. His podcast, or his company, is One Orange Sock, and his podcast is called Talking Sock. And he's a puppeteer, so he interviewed me last week, and that was released earlier this week. So check it out. I'll talk about pretty much how much I love heroes,
All right.
and how much that hero storyline inspires me. So yeah, if you're interested in puppetry and what I do, then check that out. If not, I'll see you next week.
All right. And Sam, time for goodbyes.
Hey, I'm Sam. I am a Brisbane-based voice actor and performer. You can find me also on Paddington Prowler, which has been a lot of fun. You can hear me most recently in a town called Prodigal, which is a radio drama style show from the Penny Peep Show. All episodes are out. I think they've actually started putting out episodes for their next show, which is also fantastic. So check that out as well.
All right.
And you can find me on Twitter at @the_RealSammyP.
Yeah. All right. And that's it for this week. I am Michel Vaillancourt, your storyteller. You can catch up with me at MichelV69 on Twitter. I also have my own channel where I talk about GMing, game prep, world design, and the general the general odd quirks of being someone who loves visual arts in a gaming setting. So yeah, drop in, say hi. 902 PE Gaming. That's it for us, folks. Deep Frito, no, the Chantel Chameleon doesn't. Shawnsation. Sorry, watching people desperately trying to find a Shawnee command or variations on the theme. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been fantastic. Please stick with us as we continue on our Chapter 1 of Unlawful Disorder here on our new home of Due Respite. Thank you very much. That's it. We'll catch you around. Bye-bye.